Josh is also the other physician that left Kansas without a doctor today. Josh is going to tell you all about his co-op, so we're excited to learn all about it.
It's a great co-op. We have an organic farm. Vance always wears a corn straw hat and pipe. It's really quite wonderful. I think today I'm supposed to talk about value, and if you've heard me talk before, you've probably heard me beat that drum. What I'd like to say is Lee adds a lot of value to my life by making sure that Ryan and Julie go first, because I had jokes about alcoholism, cursing, and tramp stamps, and I had to throw all those out because they've already been mentioned. So now that's the bar he set for me. So Lee knows me really well and prepped for that. So thank you, Lee. But as I listened to these great speakers, it kind of made me reflect on how we add value. And we have to remember we add value to ourselves, to our spouses, our families, like Julie was saying with her children. We want to be back there for them, but we have to build something for them as well. We add value to our patients, our staff, the greater profession as a whole, as we teach each other, like the great oath says, and we spread that knowledge, not just medically, but how can we rescue physicians from suicide, because we found a better way to be passionate about care, and we spread that. But first and foremost, you kind of have to be successful in your own bubble and grow that out. I think what you can take back from this is the people on this stage, Chad especially, have made the most mistakes. Which means we've learned the most. Okay, that was supposed to be a compliment. Did that not sound like a compliment? I'll work on it for next year. So take back the value you can from us. Ask us all questions. Find those dots, the people who have been doing this a long time. Pick brains, challenge questions, dive into the idea of it. We all went from not being doctors to being doctors, and that was a painful, growing process. Learning curves were steep, late nights, hard work, but we did it. We can run a business that same way. I don't know how we separate the two. I love talking about how if we take our oath seriously, we have to take that oath and say, do no financial harm. How do we add value to our patients' lives so that they can go and do other things, that they can be with their family, that they can have more money, that they don't have to work as hard at a job to afford $200 a month migraine medicine when we can do it for $3, $4, $5. It behooves us to focus on the business side of this as much as the medicine side, because again, it's hard to separate the two. The better you grow your practice, the more value you bring to it, the more you learn to help and push that envelope, the better you can take care of patients. And I think that will continue to change. For a long time, doctors were behind on the technology. And we were okay with that because if insurance didn't pay us to do it, we didn't do it. So we didn't care if patients could communicate by text message or by email or by Twitter, or soon it's going to be a virtual reality headset where we have a heads-up display. But now in the direct care movement, we're not limited, we're not held back to what insurance pays for, we're really held to a higher standard. What is the best thing for our consumer? I love Jeff Bezos. You might have seen that there was an article quoting me that I would shit a brick if he returned my emails. Now, I told that same reporter that we've gotten chemotherapy for 99% less, but the best quote she could take for that article was my brick building abilities. But hey, you take them where you can get them. But because we continue, Jeff Bezos is so amazing. He's the Sam Walton of our generation because he's what he calls consumer obsessed, all right? When did med school teach us to be patient obsessed? We're insurance focused, unfortunately, but we don't have to be. And that's the beautiful reality of it, is when you believe that there's only one way, you stay in that way. When you start to see that there's another better way, then you can open up to a whole new paradigm. And DPC allows us to add value by being consumer obsessed, patient obsessed. I don't want to write a letter and wait 10 days. So I send a text message. Well, why would we hold our patients back from anything less? Why would we, I don't like paying too much for airline food, let alone health care that I need. Why would we continue to persist in a model that holds our patients back from anything but the best? They're looking at us, like Julie said, the top 1% of educated people in the world. So they're hoping and trusting that we find the best way for them. We can dive into the rabbit hole of healthcare pricing, whether it's the Surgery Center of Oklahoma and or applying the Surgery Center of Oklahoma prices to your local network, or negotiating for better MRI or CT prices, or Vance. Despite his trollish looks, he is really quite amazing. And I say that because I don't think he's here, because I don't hear his laugh. He added value to the growing network by doing amazing work with his negotiation. So if you saw on the DPC Facebook page, he got wholesalers for EKGs and spirometry and other equipment to compete against each other to drive the cost of care down. But that's something most doctors are very uncomfortable with. Asking about price, pushing for price, asking for a better price, getting a little friction between two people and making them fight for the best price. And no one wants to give it away cheaper, but they did to get the business. Now, if we did what Vance did for that, and he helped ultimately thousands of patients through hundreds of doctors by getting these discounts. If we can do that for EKG machines, we can do that for medicine and labs and pathology and durable medical equipment and Rubicon for online consultations. We can continue to put ourselves in a position where we are the best person to go to for our patients. Family medicine, pediatrics, primary care always feels like we're the redheaded stepchild. I don't think we take on that full responsibility of being a leader in the medical field. Specialists are at the top. Insurance gives specialists an easier pass. But now we're the focus. We're the central location where all of our patients can come get the most value. But if you add value to your practice is going to take off. And we see that. Unfortunately, the one thing we can't study well, but I think some people are going to talk about, is failed DPC practices. And what you'll see as a common thread there is that they didn't add value. Wrong price, wrong value. That's really easy. If you go to Amazon, see that something, Zyrtec, you can buy it name brand 62 cents a pill or wholesale 8 cents a pill. I guarantee you not too many people are buying it 62 cents a pill because they want to. If they didn't know better, they should look harder. They should be a better consumer. But they're asking you to be their best consumer. They're paying you now for your advice, and your advice isn't just what is the best medicine, but how is it the best way to get it. And if you can do that, they're going to be so shocked, so impressed, so happy to have a family doctor that is obsessed with their quality that they're going to go tell 10 of their friends, and they're going to brag about you on Facebook. So there's a lot of ways that we can bring value to our patients, but we have to break out of that mold. We are used to being Stepford wives. We're good little pre-med students, we're good little medical students, we're good little interns, we're good little junior partners, and that's the easier route. It's hard to create a little friction. It's hard to negotiate for something and say, well, I really think I'm not going to go with you if you don't get a better price because my patients deserve better. And yes, I'm going to get you to lower your price $50 to help justify my $50 a month. But that's what we have to do. Because Jeff Bezos lost $5 on every Kindle ebook that was sold for the first few years to break the stranglehold that publishing houses had on ebooks. They lose $100 million on diapers. And Walmart marks Imitrex up 100? Walmart's not consumer obsessed. Amazon is. Insurance-based doctors are not consumer obsessed. They're insurance focused. DPC is obsessed with finding a better way all the time to make each patient feel that they're getting great focus, great care, great attention. And I think that's the kind of doctor we all went to med school to be. Not to focus on paperwork, not to be burnt out, not to be disgruntled with our patients. I'll often say, I love my patients. I kind of hate people. And there's a big difference. Our patients are great people, and I said this in my personal statement for med school, and it's just as true. I grew up next to a lady Trottle, a great German lady, very eccentric, very unique. And the Trottle that went to the orthopedic surgeon's office when she broke her wrist is a bad patient. She shows up late, she distrusts the doctor, she asks too many questions, she smokes despite her surgeon telling her not to. But the Trottle I know, as a neighbor and friend forever, is a warm, compassionate person who does birthday parties for her dogs and cares more about other people than most do. So we have to realize that our patients are sick, that they're busy, they're distracted, and although it doesn't necessarily make our lives easy, the value we bring to them is flexible scheduling, flexible communication, giving them a lot of our time. That is what we're here to do, is to make their lives easier. Now, there's definitely an asterisk to that of appropriateness and boundary setting. I think any successful DPC doc will talk about that. But the customer's not always right. I don't want to be right. I tell my tax accountant, I don't want to pay any taxes. That's the stated goal. But I also don't want to go to jail. I believe I'm allergic to that from prior experiences. So even though I want to be right, I need to trust the specialist to do what's right for me. So there's the unique overlay here of we need to be very consumer focused. We need to do and be there for them, but in an appropriate way, in a parental way. We want what's best for you, but we want it in the right way. But the best part about DPC is you have time. That's the value DPC brings to you, is it's hard to do quality and quantity. You can't see 30 people a day and give each patient a bunch of value. We are people. We have a reserve every day, and we can't drain that before noon and then not give anything to our other patients. So respect the value this brings to yourself and to your family, to your community. I think now that doctors in the DPC model can leave and come and learn and teach, we're seeing 5, 6, 7, 8 patients a day. But now I can leave and be on a board. I can go help the community. I can volunteer. I can do public speaking. I can go to high schools. Stuff that other physicians would love to do, but just you're losing money if you leave the office. So the direct care model, I think, is bringing value back to high schools and colleges and students who can see that being a physician is great again, that these stats that Julie posted, which are absolutely accurate, may change, that we can make people love medicine again because we brought a value not just to our patients, ourselves, our families, but out to the greater community as well. So that's why I love the DPC model. And we look forward to answering all your questions. Thank you.